Hello, I'm Joseph Napier Sr., director, producer, and narrator of this feature, which pays tribute to the Owsley'S, an architect team for the ages, if you will. This is Youngstown, Ohio, as you see, and I'm going to be with you for the next 20 minutes. We're going to take an architectural journey with Charles H. Sr., if you will. Charles Henry Owsley, the senior, was born in BLASTON, England, on December 15th, 1846. Here is a map showing the location over in England where his fair city was, or town I should say really. Here's a picture of it as it looks now. And this is an example of the churches that Charles Sr. would end up refurbishing and building. He went to 4 years of school, if you will. He actually went to Owsley College, which sounds like Owsley, but he went to Owsley College, and then from Owsley College he would work 2 years as an apprentice, and then he would migrate to Toronto and then to Ohio, there in Wethersfield, Ohio to be exact. Keep an eye on this building here located at 80 East State Street, the Owsley building. It was owned by Charles's one of the brothers, if you will. And this is a picture of Youngstown in the 18th century, late 18th century to be exact. Welcome to Lisbon, Ohio. Here you can see the Columbiana County Courthouse that was built in 1871. You can see the brown hues to this building, if you will. Very, very pretty stone, if I say so myself. You can really see it here. That was sandstone, which was cut and brought from the local quarry in the area, to be exact, not too far from this location, to be exact, in that county, if you will. Beautiful structure. I did a 360 around up on the entrance of time. I'm showing you the facade, the forward area. Here's the Strauss Harrisburg building, as I knew it as a kid, and then it turned to Strauss, as you see there. Here's the forward part of it in the early, I'm thinking around 1931 or so. That's the detail I'm showing you out through the scroll facade, if you will, front side. Strauss was one of our most popular department stores in town. This is how it looks now. You had Strauss and you had McKelvey's. Those were our two major department stores. Master stonemason P. Ross Berry worked with the Owsley's on a lot of projects that they did. They would bring him in because of his skill that he had. This will represent, if you will, the second courthouse right here. This would be built in 1876 as the county seat was relocated from Canfield to Youngstown, Ohio. I'm in the city of Warren at this point, the Park Inn Hotel. As you see, the date it was built there. That's how it looked then, and this is how it looks today. This is June of 2020 to be exact. The Union National Bank is located on the same side of the street, but across the street going in the opposite direction. It was built also by the Owsley's. They built a number of structures in Warren along Millionaire Road. They built a lot of mansions and residential homes and throughout that community. This is Mahoning National Bank. The 13th floor up there represents the Owsley's firm, if you will, their architect firm. And on to Sharon, Pennsylvania. Sharon, they built a lot of different buildings in Sharon, as you'll see here shortly. This is going knifing right down to the middle of Sharon, PA, as we come up the hill here. And I'm going to show off a couple structures that he did immediately, and then others will follow as we're cascading now across the famous bridge there. There's a lot of architecture in Sharon, a very historical city. The BUHL mansion is represented here in the background. It was built in 1891 by Charles Sr. Charles took all that learning that he got in England. He was mentored by 4 different architect greats, to be exact, and you can see it come out in this very luxurious, glamorous structure, I call it. On the right hand side was the guest quarters. If you stay there, they had guest quarters, dining quarters, a ballroom in there, etc., etc. Here's the back side of the grand home of BUHL. Was a steel magnate, if you will. He was the father of steel in Sharon, Pennsylvania. He was a millionaire many times over, and he was the father of steel as it related to Sharon. And he had a lot of money, if you will. There's a lot of things named after him, streets, etc. And you see in the courtyard, the open area, the outside patio area where they entertain. You see greenhouses, etc. Here is a house that the Owsley and Charles Sr. built as well in 1893. As you see here, is the home to our the president of Youngstown State University, Jim Tressel, and his wife Ellen. Here is Central High School that was built in East Liverpool, Ohio in 1905. Looks kind of familiar there, not too far removed from the BUHL mansion, to be exact. See how grand that is? That's a school. It featured the elementary school grades, middle school, as well as high school grades. Young Charles graduates from high school in 1899. Young Charles is off to the University of Pennsylvania, where he'll do his 4 years in architect school. He's following in his father's footsteps. At the time, the University of Pennsylvania only represented one of 2 schools in the whole country. The Andrew Carnegie Library, you see here in the background. This is also in East Liverpool. Andrew Carnegie spent some summers here in his youth. He had family that lived in East Liverpool, Ohio. A lot of people didn't know that. I wanted to take my time to walk down the boulevard here to show off this grand structure, which came online in 1900. Andrew Carnegie bequeathed money for libraries and civic venues to be built all over the country, actually, because he loved the city that he spent a lot of his childhood in. Not most of it, but a lot of it. He's from Scotland, for those that know. A little short gentleman from Scotland. He was the father of steel. He brought steel to Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and the rest is history. But he built venues all over the United States. He gave the city $50,000 to build that, and they threw in money, of course, and built it. Here's the BUHL Club. It's like an athletic club, which is right down the street before you get to the mansion on the opposite side on State Street there in Sharon, Pennsylvania, there again. It's an athletic club, kind of similar to YMCA, if you will. To the left-hand side is the original structure. If you look to the far right, that was a part of the structure that was added on to it. An extension was built. Young Charles heads off to France after he graduated from the University of Pennsylvania. He does a couple years over in Paris, France, learning European architecture, if you will, and brings all those skills back to Youngstown, Ohio, and joins his father's firm, if you will, in 1905, where he starts to work right alongside his father. They built this early Y here pictured. This is a postcard picture of the YMCA, and this is how it looks now. The Youngstown Metro Church was an overflow church that was built. It's on our city's north side. It's called Youngstown Metro Church today. First Presbyterian Church was the main church, and this was a flow, if you will, from that church to that structure. Here's the beginnings of the 3rd courthouse in Mahoning County, the 2nd one in the city of Youngstown. There's Young Charles, if you will, up top, the very, very top of the structure, up there with the scaffolding and the workers, just saying, this is my building. It's ironic, but if you were in their office building, which is located on the 13th floor, I said again, at the Mahoning National Bank building, you look out and you see the courthouse immediately right outside the window. They would see most definitely this side of the building here, to be exact. The Mahoning County Courthouse, Youngstown, Ohio, of course, the county seat of the Mahoning Valley. George McKelvey, or GM McKelvey Department Store, was the 2nd department store, as I was mentioning earlier. 2 grand department stores. This was in Youngstown, had all of the retailing industry. Was located in downtown before it went out to Bourbon and Niles, Ohio, respectively. McKelvey's would become HIGBEE'S in 1982, and then later on it would close, and it would succumb to the bulldozers, if you will, and a replacement building called the George Voinovich building would replace his name as one of Ohio's governors, to be exact. You see, the architect used 2 different color stones. State offices and county offices are located in that structure. South High School, what can I say about this building? I graduated from here in 1981. I'm a South High warrior. If you look down the middle there, you see the flagpole that marked the center of the school. The architect, of course, was Owsley Jr., was young Charles. He built the structure. The center core was built first, and then later on they came and put on both wings. So the original center structure was built with the mind, keep in mind, to then come and build the addition to the school later on. I saw it in one of the many books when I was in school. I said, wow. Here is the Mercer County Courthouse, which is in the barrio of Mercer in western Pennsylvania. This courthouse was built the same year as the Mahoning County Courthouse, the one you just got done seeing. This represented two different style buildings, definitely complete opposites from each other. This is inside the building, looking and going up the steps, looking up towards the rotunda inside, if you will, towards the ceiling. And here I'm panning down the front of it just to let you take in all the grandeur of this building. Around 3 different color stones were used to build this building. It's on the list of 100 most architecturally designed or fabulous structures in the United States that was featured in an edition of the National Geographic magazine. REUBEN McMillan Free Library was named after Youngstown superintendent and the father of the library in this, if you will, in the library system in Youngstown, REUBEN McMillan. Here's the Dollar Bank building, the brown brick. And in the late 70s, around 1977 to be exact, I received a major facelift, and gray marble granite stone was put on the front of it. It don't even look like the same building, but if you used to peel all that off, you would see it was brown brick. Elm Street Firehouse number 7, that's how it looked back then when it was built, around 1917 or around there. Very old structure. This is how it looks today. Today it's just the bottom section. They flattened the roof. This is the John R. Davis building, which is downtown, right in the heart of downtown. It's the red brick building that was in the middle. Charles Sr. retires. As you see in the background, that represented some of the residential homes that they built. As you see, Charles Sr. retired in 1911, and he just had a modest retirement. He lived in comfort. This home you see here in the background here was built by his son. His son built this home for him. It's across the street from the Wick Park, which is located on the north side of Youngstown, a street called Broadway. It was on the opposite side away from Stanby Auditorium. It's still there today. This is the way it looks today. I took this picture a couple days ago. This is June of 2020, and that was the house owned by the elder Owsley, Charles Sr. to be exact. Youngstown City Hall building was built in 1914 and still houses the mayor's office and different municipal courthouse, or a courthouse was shut down, I think. Yeah, they moved to relocate to another building, but you have other departments or offices which are located in that structure. City Hospital built in 1902. Some people knew it as Youngstown Hospital. Then it would become Southside Hospital, or Southside Medical Facility, if you will. That represented the first hospital in Youngstown. Yes, it was built by the Owsley's. The Home Savings and Loan Building here was built in 1919 by young Owsley, Charles Jr. to be exact. It's our landmark in Youngstown, you know, like the Eiffel Tower and the Space Needle is to Seattle, Washington. The Home Savings and Loan Bank building is to Youngstown. That's our landmark. I caught a picture of it as the sun is settling over the valley. St. Augustine Episcopal Church was built by the elder Owsley for the Berry family, Lenora Evans Berry, the daughter-in-law of P. Ross Berry, the contractor, if you will. We built a lot of structures with the Owsley's. They built that church for his daughter as it became the first African-American Episcopal church in Youngstown. Here's the Dr. R.A. Morrison Church as it appeared in 1927 and as it appeared a couple days ago. Northside Hospital as well was built by Charles Jr. in 1926, I believe, or 9. I'm getting my numbers transposed possibly wrong. He would go on to build also the Owsley's building, which was built in the early part of the 30s, Art Deco style. Now this is during the midst of the Depression, if you will. The Depression ran from 1929 to 1939. Owsley's was thriving during that time. They had locations all over the valley. The white structure or building you saw there represents one of their branches as well, or one of their franchises. Here's the Mahoning Valley Water Sanitary District that was built by Charles Jr. He built the whole facility. Now, short through the year, a building or two was added, but he built that whole facility, and that was the main administration building you saw there in 1934. Franklin Delano Roosevelt would come to Youngstown, right down the heart of downtown Youngstown from west to east. 1935, Charles Sr. died, and he will never be forgotten, if you will, the Owsley's and their contribution, especially Charles Sr. This represents the city of Salem. They built a number of structures in the city of Salem. This was built in 1950. Of course, this is young Charles. He would build this, Charles Jr. He also would build the Salem High School as well. You have there, that's how it looks now. Kent State branch of Kent State, Salem would be in that building today. This is one of the bank buildings that was built in the city of Salem as well. Salem Quakers, a very, very nice, quaint city. I spent a day in the town eating and walking about, taking numerous photographs as well as video footage here as well. The city of Salem, Ohio. He has relatives that still live there. His grandson, the son of Charles Jr., lives there. This was the original section of St. Elizabeth Hospital, 1915. I think the date shows there. And if you look in the background, as I'm getting ready to pan the camera up, you can see a part of the original part of the hospital opposite the cross to the right. Now it's owned by a medical firm out of Texas by the name of Mercy Health. Here is the Shenango Inn. The Shenango Inn was built by Charles Jr. as well. This represented the very last structure that he would build. 1950 was his finale year, if you will. He built a few structures that year, 3 or 4 or 5 of them to be exact. John F. Kennedy, the candidate, stayed there overnight. That's his claim to fame. It's a colonial style building, as you see, buildings going from left to right there. A very tall building, if you will. I did a 360 around the facility. Sad to say, it closed last June in 2019. Of course, this is now June 2020. So it's been closed a year. It was an inn for a lot of years, owned by the community, and it would later become an assisted living center, and it operated as an assisted living center for a number of years, and then it would ultimately close. Like I said, I'm going to shoot the grounds here. I'm showing all the vegetation, if you will, the landscaping, if you will. I went around the side of it. You can see a grand parking lot, and then the back side looked pretty much like the front side here, of course, and the sides and all. It's a very competent structure, so for anybody that would want to own that property, it's still idle at this point in time, June of 2020. I would say go ahead and invest in it. It's a grand structure. I'm about to show you a pharmacist building here shortly, owned by the brother of Charles Sr. Of course, is later. Charles' brother, I'm sure, has passed on, of course. And he got his brother, Charles, back in the game. He was a pharmacist right there on East State Street. You'll see the Owsley building, pharmacy building. He encouraged him to come back to architecture, if you will, to be an architect. And he left farming, which he dabbled with briefly in Wethersfield Township, if you remember. This represents the Youngstown Country Club, in which they both were members. Young Charles Jr. would bring the Rotary Club to Youngstown, Ohio. He was an organizer of the Youngstown Metropolitan Housing Authority, a member of the Youngstown Club, etc., etc. As you see here, this is the Owsley Pharmacy building, the pharmacy building that young Charles, his uncle, would own. Of course, Charles' senior brother would own that building in the beginning. And young Charles would come back in 1935 and renovate the facade of that building for his uncle, if you will. On the Oak Hill Cemetery is where the Owsley's lay in state. In the background, it's ironic, you can see Southside Hospital, one of the many architectural renderings that they did throughout the city of Youngstown. Never forget the Owsley's. The next time you're in downtown Youngstown, look up. You may just see an Owsley building. This has been a Napier Vision production. I am Joseph Napier Sr., videographer, narrator, director, producer. I did it all, folks, if you will. I love architecture, and I hope you love this film as well. Paying tribute to their rise and fall, if you will, the Owsley's. 70 years of architectural renderings within the northeastern Ohio communities of Warren, Ohio, Salem, Ohio, Lisbon, Mercer, Wethersfield, Ashtabula, and of course Youngstown, Ohio. They were well connected, as I said earlier, with many families like the Wicks, the Butlers, the McKelveys, the Orrs, the DeBales, the Finches. Maybe some of those names jump out at you a little bit, or maybe not. Thank you very much.